Can y'all see me? Sorry, I just had to get fresh out the shower because I was just like, if I don't do this video, when is this video gonna get done? Because it's literally been on my mind every day. But then I come home and I'm tired, and then I want to just sit on the couch and be a ragamuffin. So I was like, I don't care if I don't put my eyebrows on. I don't care if I'm not wearing something cute. I don't care if, as long as you can see me, you can get this message. I can feel like I accomplished something tonight. And so that was my goal. So sometimes, you got to see a person for who they are. Marketing be damned. No, okay, this is the part 5 of the book we've been reading, which is 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. Get comfortable because I am. And if you've been waiting on this video, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, because I promise you I do get those notifications and they make my heart so warm and keep me coming back to post more videos. So literally by subscribing, it gets me here. When you comment, it gets me here. So make sure you do those things, not only for the algorithm, but also just because they motivate me to show up. And I need that, so help your girl out. All right. So this last part of the book, part 5, was called Unconventional Warfare, Dirty War. But I personally thought about it as like modern warfare because it's about guerrilla warfare. And the thing about guerrilla warfare is it's just the way it is now, right? People aren't going to come at you straight on. They're not going to put a flag in your yard and declare war. Most of the time, your war is going to be subtly. And so in respect for that, we have what we call guerrilla warfare. So what we want to know is that uncovered deception is a huge advantage to your opponent. Maintain a covered story in case you are discovered. Don't rely only on deception. It is a tool, not solely a plan. So chapter 23, is weave a seamless blend of fact and fiction. Misperception strategies. So deception is an ancient art and invaluable when throwing people off your track. Misinformation and decoys can consume your opponent. So basically keep them confused, okay? His example is this is the false mirror. During preparation for the invasion at Normandy in World War II, the Allies developed a significant number of deceptive plans. These included a fake army in England, a lookalike general in the Mediterranean theater, a wealth of misinformation that ended up paralyzing Hitler's decision-making capabilities. And when the invasion started, his reaction time was very slow. So they placed a lot of misinformation out there in order to kind of confuse him on which way to focus, and therefore he didn't know where to attack. So the keys here is make a strong front look weak. Make a weak front look strong and attack from a different direction. Feed your opponent with misinformation. Maintain a pattern with the intent of changing it for surprise. Use imaginative and complete camouflage. Make the real look false and the false look real to create complete ambiguity. So basically, all the smoke and mirrors you can possibly muster, throw them in for this particular technique, and you got it right. For Law 24, or Strategy 24, he says there is no advantage of attacking by the expected means and methods. So take the line of least expectation, the ordinary, extraordinary strategy. Do the unexpected, guys. Just do the unexpected. The TikTok now, like, never let them know what you're doing next. If always calm, be radical. If always radical, do something ordinary. It's use tactics that your opponent just doesn't know. Mix ordinary tactics with the unusual. Act crazy but calculated. Continue to think of new things. And there's millions of people who you could like think of to portray this idea, but I'm gonna go with Muhammad Ali. So when Muhammad Ali, or before he was Muhammad Ali, he challenged the heavyweight champion at the time, Sonny Liston, to a boxing match. He wanted the title. Ali had this super unorthodox fighting style, right? And his non-conformist behavior gave him a great advantage in the fight since his opponent did not know what to expect. So he just kind of kept switching it up. He had this like really quick dance-like way of maneuvering. And he had a way of even getting into your mind outside of the boxing ring, right? With the trash talk and mean faces and really kind of rile you up just to confuse you. And so that's kind of what he says to do here. Just be very unexpected. He talks about how this Ojibwa tribe had these warriors, and their whole thing was act really crazy during battles. They will yell the exact opposite of their intent, which caused a lot of confusion in their opponents and terrified them to the point that they just wouldn't even engage in battle. Like, these people crazy as hell. I don't even want the smoke. So, sometimes act the fool, act crazy. Confuse the hell out of them. For strategy 25, he starts off by saying, playing the high ground can make you look righteous and condescending. This can alienate and disgust your opponent. So occupy the moral high ground. The righteous strategy says justify your cause as the correct and moral way. Show your opponent's self-serving side. Show yourself as the underdog. So, everybody loves an underdog, right? So, by playing the underdog, you typically bring people to your, support. He brings up the moral offensive, where Pope Leo X wanted to complete construction of St. Peter's Basilica. To raise the funds for the church, he started to practice selling of indulgences. Martin Luther, y'all know who he is, right? He challenged the practice in the 95 Thesis, saying that only God can forgive one's sins. You can't sell indulgences in order to get people into heaven. He argued his stand based solely on the Bible, refuting each of the Pope's retorts. This effort made Martin Luther the genesis of the Lutheran and Protestant traditions. So he kind of took this route of saying, hey, what you're doing is not supported in the Bible, and every argument you have, I'm going to counterattack with actual lessons from the Bible. Sorry, I heard something. I live alone, so I was scared. Okay, so the keys to warfare here. Reveal the hypocrisy of your opponent. That's number 1. Justify your actions based on morality. Number 2. Represent yourself as good and your opponent as bad. An immoral act will ruin your reputation, so always stay very moral. Don't ever show yourself outside of that, Is one of my doors open? Yeah, okay. So anyway, the problem with producing yourself like this is that you can't come outside of that conformist looking way. You present yourself as the righteous high ground person. You can't have a blemish on your reputation. So you have to be very conscientious about this attack because it does make people look at you a lot more, right? Anybody playing the righteous person, people are going to look for their own sins in them, so be careful with that. But make your opponent start the actual fight, and wars of self-interest are short and defined. But wars on moral grounds are long and protracted, attempting to annihilate the roots of immorality. For strategy 26, he says, you cannot use conventional means with a guerrilla. You must deny them targets. If you do attack strong and quick at any central point they have. So if you find yourself attacking somebody with this unconventional strategy, you have to understand that you can't attack them head on. It's almost like asking a liar to tell you the truth. You ain't gonna get it. They liars. You're not getting it. I'm not gonna fight you directly if I can win fighting you indirectly. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes people think I'll just pin them to the wall and make them confess. They're not going to do that. So don't even try that. He says the best thing to do is just deny them their targets. The strategy of the void. Or remove any targets you have of your opponents. Do not create a front or make your front so broad that attack can get attacks their base. No targets will frustrate your opponents, increasing the chances they will make a mistake. So if you leave a person with nothing to attack, nothing to come at you with, right? Just cut off the access. They get so pissed because, like, you messed up the game. And that's how you have to kind of do it. So in Napoleon's 1812 invasion of Russia, he met with a retreating Russian army, putting up little resistance and buying time. Cossack sniped him. Retreating Russian troops left behind burned out towns and fields and no food. The initial French force of 450,000 troops was reduced by 100,000 by the time they reached Moscow. The retreat led to further decimation. So he simply was like, I won't fight you, but I will make it difficult for you to fight me too. So he burned down everything that they could use as resources and just got out their way and let them kind of defeat themselves. Some of the keys here are, one thing to know is guerrilla bands are easier to hide and maneuver. Guerrilla warfare is strongly psychological. Large armies are susceptible to guerrillas' attacks. You must exhaust your opponent. Lure your opponent to attack to use guerrilla tactics effectively. And moving on to 27, he says, be wary of people that come to your assistance. Others will use this against you. Ensure that they do not use you negatively. Look to turn that alliance into your positive. He says, seem to work for the interest of others while furthering your own. The alliance strategy. So he talks about this a lot. Like sometimes you gotta befriend someone and make it seem like, oh, I'm doing this for you. But at the same time, you should always be pushing your agenda. For instance, you may get a job and it's like, yes, I'm working for this company, but I'm actually working for me to buy a house and a car and to get enough wealth and opportunity to not work for a company, right? So yes, I'm serving the company in one aptitude, but I'm also serving myself because my interests are long and prepared to expand myself. But he talks about it too. He talks about this one psychiatrist, Murray Brown, and he says he used to go home. His family was always fighting. And so what he ended up doing was he wrote all these letters to show concern for the person, but exposing a series of a lot of gossip and nasty things. And what he was trying to do was create a degree of autonomy for himself, which gave him the power to control the situation and facilitate his siblings into creating a healthy family relationship. So he was incredibly toxic, but in the end, his goal was to find family balance while also remaining autonomous and staying free from conflict, right? So he says to do this, some of the keys here is to find those to advance your current interests, damage other people's alliances, help someone else you need help from to create debt, play the autonomous center, brokering resolution. We need allies in our struggles for resource, skill, or protection. And lastly, he says, when fighting allies, create mistrust between them, dividing their ranks. Then we go to 28. This approach can raise suspicions and can be politically costly. A direct approach will minimize that cost, so use this sparingly. It says, give your rivals enough rope to hang themselves. The One-Upmanship Strategy. And it basically means give your opponents the space to make mistakes, provide them with assignments they cannot complete, and damage their reputation. Hide your involvement and maintain your innocence. I feel like someone tried to do this shit to me, and I thought it was complete bullshit, but I guess she was successful if she thought she was successful. I didn't give a fuck. Fuck her. That was nasty. I need to edit that out, but whatever. Just thinking about this particular technique is just but I guess it shows that it works. I guess that shows it works, right? So just Yeah. I mean, you pretty much get this one. The next one is take small bites. The Fate Accompli strategy. Make advances by small pieces, often going unnoticed by your rivals. By the time they notice your growth, it may be too late. So people really dislike confrontation. So he says one strategy is that they will give little things easily. So only take very small things until you kind of take in the castle pretty much. He says look for opportunities in a rival's troubled times. He also tells us take control. Your opponent will have to fight to get it back. And lastly, be very patient because time is your ally in this position. Finally, penetrate their minds, the communication strategies. He says watch other people's communication for generalities that hide their intents or cliches that distract people's focus. Fight with words that will occupy your opponent. Make them think and try to interpret your meaning. Use actions other than words when needed to make a lasting impression. So in filming The 39 Steps in 1935, Alfred Hitchcock handcuffed the leads Madeleine Carroll and Robert Donat and then fainted losing the key and left them handcuffed for hours. The ploy was to make them understand the script they were about to play. Hitchcock furthered his indirect communications by actions contrary to the situation, working his actors' minds. So use the profound to stay with other people over time. Communicate with action, not only words. Silence can say way more than your words can ever communicate. Shock will bring short-lived communication, and communication must focus on change. Next, you got 31, destroy from within, the inner front strategy. Look for the sabotager within. Do not be paranoid. Treat your troops fairly and they will police themselves. So, keys to warfare here is do not attack the walls of the fort, attack from within. Right? Undermine the morale of your opponent's troops. Be patient and take small steps. Exploit the disaffected with your opponent and use them. Befriend your opponent and work from within their mind. And keep your group of conspirators small. For 32, he says, intimidation is the reversal of the passive-aggressive behavior. Threaten, but do not act. Dominate while seeming to submit. The passive-aggressive strategy. Use non-aggression to fight your opponent. Their aggressive acts will benefit and garner support from others. Since there is a presentation of both good and bad traits, people normally see only the positive approach. So, using passive-aggressive behavior at the positive stands out. Train yourself to see passive-aggressive and react to it. Succumb to others while covertly fighting. Stop passive-aggressive behavior quickly and do not be too eager for power. Direct and symmetrical warfare, upfront and honest. This is the last one. And he says, sow uncertainty and panic through acts of terror. The chain reaction strategy. The goal is chaos and creating a lack of trust in unfamiliar surroundings. What was once safe is now uncertain. And this reminds me of Game of Thrones when Littlefinger tells her like chaos is a ladder. If you really pay attention in Game of Thrones, all of that stuff happened because of Littlefinger's direct action and like pushing the pieces of the board, right? Go back and watch it, you'll see, because he sends a letter. He has Stark's wife's sister send a letter to say that her husband was assassinated, but she actually killed her husband. And this is what starts like a chain of reaction of like war and destruction and battle and all this craziness based on a lie that like this one commoner who wanted power started. Peep game. Anyway, responding dispassionately will defeat the cause. Take the moral high ground. Exploit being the victim. Fighting back in a disproportionate manner fuels their cause. Randomize the frequency of attack. Thwart the attacks at the point of the attack. Create unstable ground. And you're most effective in small bands. That is the end of this series, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so happy to have completed it. This is the last video, has just been on my mind. So I'm really happy that I got this out. Now I want to talk a little bit about Sylvia Plath for a few days. And then we're going to move on because I'm reading a new book called The Secret to Attracting Money. So I'll be sharing some stuff I learned in that book with you guys too. If you want to read along with me, it's by Joe Vitale. I'm reading it on Amazon. I'm reading on Audible, shall I say. So, I got time before I do, probably like 2 or 3 videos before I go over that one. But it is what I'm currently reading. So, if you want to read that one with me, I would love for you to go ahead and get it. It's The Secret of Attracting Money by Joe Vitale. And yeah. If you're going to join me in this read along, then I appreciate you. And we'll talk about it soon. If not, then I'll see you in my next with my next videos. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You know I love it, love it, love it. And yeah, stay tuned. We're actually just making it up to 800 subscribers. Super excited. I remember when I had like 20 subscribers. And I was like, who's going to listen to me talk about books? So, super glad you guys are here. Hope that you did my pajamas tonight. I just could not do it all today. I had to be myself. So appreciate you for accepting me in this attire. And I'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.